Nathan Prasad. Welcome to the podcast, mate.
Hey, mate. Thanks for having me, Jordan.
No, thanks for coming on.
Excited.
For all the listeners that are just listening in their ears and not on YouTube, Nathan's looking very flash today, as usual. He's got his hair done and he's got a nice shirt on for me. I'm very impressed, mate.
Just got dressed up just for you, mate. And you're rocking up with a cap, t-shirt.
Car roll, man. It's all a bit of a facade, like just trying to chill out and the business is good and all that sort of stuff. But hustler deep down. But mate, how's the new office? I'm loving the neon lights behind you.
Yeah, it's good. We finally just moved up into an office with the views of the city and
very nice.
Yeah, got to build it out with all personal development stuff.
I love it.
But it's good. It's a good space to grow essentially. You're coming into the office all the time. So I got out of all of my office up until this point had 4 walls. So I finally got a window.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm the same. Like I feel like if I don't get out during the day and get some fresh air and walk around or have a bit of a view, you just start to go a bit insane with the 4 walls. So looks good, mate. Very impressed.
Thanks, brother.
Cool. So in terms of the actual property side of things, I guess, given that you've been a buyer's agent and built, a portfolio yourself, and we're just talking off air there around how that transition's been to you and how much you do enjoy the whole property process. What do you think your sort of personal philosophy would be around building out a portfolio over the long term?
Man, I would say trying to build up, depending on what your age is, trying to build up sort of capital growth up front. When I went to go buy my first property, I was living over in Bronte Heights. It's a suburb over in Logan. And I ended up buying a house just down the street, purchase price 400. It had a good cash flow because it had a granny flat. But I learned pretty quickly within the 2 years that I wasn't going to get that capital growth to allow me to leverage and get my next property. So I kind of worked that out up front, and then I sold it for a small profit, and then I ended up buying something sort of closer to the CBD, but it was only 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. Didn't have the cash flow. It was costing me a bit of money, but 4 years later, it gave me way more capital growth, which I was able to pull out and buy more assets. So I'd say, philosophy-wise, I'd say sort of try chase capital growth first. A lot of people are going high cash flow, and they're starting their portfolio with a high cash flow strategy, but they don't realize that it really pulls you back from that whole part of leverage. Property is about leveraging.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. And I'm on the same wavelength as you. Everyone's kind of got their own borrowing capacity, and yeah, a high cash flow deal might increase that a tiny little bit, but once you've reached it, and then you're stuck just with high cash flow and you're not getting the benefits of the higher growth. Funny you mentioned Logan, because at the moment everyone's kind of talking about Logan as a bit of a kind of that sort of situation. So are you still carrying that asset? How's that going for you so far?
Long story short is I did sell that. That property is probably worth, I bought it for 400. Now it's probably worth around 600. Then I ended up buying an asset in Holland Park for around 500, and then I sold it for $1 million. So I probably made it more 300K more capital growth than I would have, keeping that one in Bronia. But Logan as a suburb is going off at the moment. We're buying a lot of investments out there for investors, and some properties are getting 26 offers on them. One property in Regent's Park had over 40 written contracts on the one property. So
40
crazy amount of 40 written contracts here just for a 3-bedroom, 1 bath on a busy road. It's a good area if you want to get a good cash flowing property. But you have to be on the ground there, because it's very competitive.
Yeah, I've heard that, and that's kind of why a lot of people are talking about it. But yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of a property having 40 contracts. Maybe not even 40 verbal offers, but 40 contracts is nuts. The real estate agent must have been copying it on that one.
Oh yeah, the lineups at some of these properties, it's insane. We stopped buying in Regent's Park because it's just got too hard, and we started going to the other suburbs. But
Yeah,
I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
If you can buy right, obviously, don't just go buying anything in that suburb. But if you can buy it at a really good price, you definitely should get some capital growth there.
Yeah, nice. And so I guess, is that all a part of something that you would go back and tell yourself when you first started, or what would you if you had the opportunity to?
I think the biggest thing would be gather more data, gather more information. I should have actually got on the phones, called up the agents in that area. This is what we do as buyers. We call them up and say, how many offers did you get? How many people went through that property? That's actually real data, and actually not just stopping at Brony Heights in that area. I probably should have went to Regent's Park, even down the road to Parkinson, and then started calling around in Holland Park and just understanding the market so much. Like, education is a big part of it, like understanding, hey, what's my strategy going to be? But I think actually, like, just doing the groundwork and calling up agents and learning about, what the supply and demand is. That's how you can work out, what is actually a good deal.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree. And it's so funny because, we talk about the data, and there's so much different conflicting information and data that's out there. And, when you and I first started, there wasn't as much as that's available now. So it's just another tool that we can add to our toolkit and utilize and understand how things have chopped and changed over time, and delve into some numbers a little bit more. But you've talked a little bit about your portfolio there, touched on it for a second. But was there anything else that you would potentially change about your portfolio? Would you consider that Logan purchase as a mistake? And are you happy with the decision that you made to sell it and transition into something a little bit better? And was there anything else, any other mistakes in the portfolio that you'd change?
And I guess with the second property, I made a mistake again. I was still quite a novice. I brought a property on a main road. So, because I know the market, I was able to get a good agent to sell it at a high price to someone that was in Sydney. Sounds bad, but, they don't know the market up here, man. We just sold it for a crazy price, but I had to get rid of that asset while it was peaking up here. And, but, I learned, to really understand, within a suburb and a state, really, like, maybe you should stick away from main roads, and there's other factors like train lines and stuff like that, wrapping your head around all of that information as well. And I guess what I did to do on the second property that I probably shouldn't have done too was it was only a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and where it was located from, from the city, it was really what we call a knockdown style of property. And I went out of my way to renovate the kitchen and the bathroom, which was, probably could have saved myself 10 grand there. So understanding, hey, this is a knockdown property, maybe I do the bare minimum on it. So yeah, that's probably another lesson that I learned. Maybe don't renovate if you don't have to.
Yeah, don't overcapitalize. I think you banged on, and some of the things about the train lines and main roads is super important. And I think even that situation of it's a great combination of, even I notice that there's different sales agents in specific areas that outperform others. Like, they actually do really well and get a really good price for the property. They know, what people are looking out for there and market towards them and make the property look really good and, a client to what those types of clients are looking for. And I think that's spot on. And then the second point is, if you're an out of state investor, you really do need that on the ground research and help to understand the different things and metrics around that specific location. And if you don't have that data, then you're potentially losing out or overpaying for a property. Some cracking points there. Now, mate, this is a really interesting question I love asking people. And it's something that I see a lot in the industry is, there's transition from, pay income, starting to build out a portfolio. The goal is to build a passive income stream from the portfolio and hopefully exit the rat race at some point in time. But you've obviously taken that passion a little bit of a step forward and transition it into a business. What did that process look like for you, and what made you sort of make that final leap?
Man, I guess, so what happened was, sort of jumping in, I was a building estimator, long story short. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm going to, I left school. I was like, I'm going to become a really good building estimator. And then I got a job at a building company, and, I was doing the 9 to 5, but then I noticed there was a big cap on my income. So that was sort of the first step. And then I think, the second part was, I was going to the same office from 9 to 5. I didn't have a window in my office, so I didn't even actually. So that's probably why I'm so excited about having a window. It just wasn't as exciting. So then on the side, I actually started, working with I started using my building knowledge and how I knew how to work out due diligence and stuff like that. And I started working with developers and sourcing sites for them. And that was like super exciting for me. I was finding these off-market deals. I was in negotiating on them. Then I was doing, working with the developers to do some high-level due diligence. And then we're actually getting the site under contract. I was actually, I was loving that process. And then I was also building a side hustle. Like I was making extra money on the side. And then, through that, I was building up my knowledge so much quicker than actually, reading books and stuff like that. I got to sit down with these developers and they were teaching me their negotiating skills. They were teaching me like, there's so many tricks of the trade. And the biggest thing that they were teaching me was like when to walk away from a deal. So fast forward, then, I was doing it. I started doing it quite a bit. And then I just, felt like now it's the time to make the leap. And, it is a scary thing because you're gone from like, leaving school, I was so used to getting paid an income. But yeah, once I made the leap, it's been so much better, like I just made sure I had enough for like 2 months, essentially, had enough for 2 months. And then I sort of branched off and started helping investors and families. But, what I sort of touched on earlier is now this is more exciting for me. Like this morning I caught up with a local real estate agent about a project that I'm working on. We had to have these real conversations on, what's happening with the buyers and like what sort of buyer is going to buy our project and having these like real high level conversations. Even with my conveyancer I had the other day, we we're just talking about the property market in Brisbane. And yeah, I live and breathe property, and now I get to do it as a job. And it's not a struggle now to get up and go into work. And now I have that opportunity to earn like as much money. There's no cap on how much I can earn as well.
Yeah, that's such a big thing I've realized too, right? It's that conundrum between, I'm going to be paid an income and I'm always going to be paid that income, but at the same time, that's all I'm ever going to earn. And so it's nice to have there, and it's going to come in every month if I keep working away at my job and do well at my job. But at the same time, it's much harder to scale and grow that income. And I see that's such a common thing. And it's hard to take that leap because you're so used to the income coming through. But what most people don't realize is, anything can happen at any point in time, that the business could go down and then you potentially lose your job, or a shift in the economy. It's no different to really starting your own business because, someone's at the top and making the tough decisions. And if someone makes a wrong decision or something happens in the economy, then it's going to be a bit of a turn down anyway. Why not give it a crack on your own and follow your own dreams and passions, and you've got to ride the ups and downs with it. Which is a little bit more stressful. If you can handle that, then it's all fun and games after that, according to Nathan anyway.
It does get stressful. But I got to say, I guess for me and my personality, I love building relationships. I love connecting with a lot of people, and me being stuck in an office just didn't suit me.
Yeah, I'm the same, mate. I did it for 10 years, but you really don't realize how much it's slowly killing you on the inside. Now, mate, there's 1,001 of them out there, but if you had sort of one favorite property one-liner, what would it be?
Oh man, it sounds pretty corny, but don't wait to buy property. Buy property and wait. And I was just saying that because I was talking to this guy yesterday. He was 25. He's like, should I buy a property now or should I wait, 9 months and then buy a property? And I just said to him, man, you've been watching the market. You should just buy now. And I just said the biggest thing to him, I said, because with the second property I brought, I actually brought it at the peak in 2018. So for about 2 years, I couldn't sell it for the amount that I purchased it for. But I love the saying that property is forgiving. You know what I mean? over time, I said, you're 25 now. I said, if it does peak now, it might go down a little bit, but by the time you're 35, trust me, it'll be worth, 34, 40% more than what you paid for it. Like,
yeah, I think that's cracking advice. I did the same thing with my best mate when the COVID first hit. He was buying his first family home, and there was all the fear mongering that was out there in the media, and everything was going to seem like it was about to blow up. Like we really didn't know what was going to happen with COVID. And he just said to me, "What should I do?" And I said, "Look, at the end of the day, even if it is the peak of the market, if you're comfortable for property market to drop by 30% and then slowly increase back up over time, and you can still make the repayments, even if like one of you was to lose your jobs and you were comfortable from that side of things, then if that's the worst case scenario, then you're still going to have that asset over the next 20 to 30 years if you can hold on to it. And that's when you'll start to see the real returns." So, and he was so tossing and turning, and he ended up purchasing, and now he's made something like 30% in the last 18 months, which is crazy. But every time I see him, he reminds me of that conversation. And it's so, like, you're so right. Even if it is the peak of the market, if you've got the ability to hold on to that and you're comfortable with the worst case scenario, then that's the worst case scenario, and you've already run that through your scenario in your head as you've gone through. So, cracking advice, mate. Well, Nathan, it's always a pleasure to have a bit of a chat, mate. If you're keen, a little bit later on, we'll get you back onto the podcast.
Awesome. That sounds good. Thanks, Jordan, for having me on.
No worries, mate. I'll talk to you soon.